Wasn't that counter cool? Um, I might be upgrading that, but I thought it was a nice touch to say, "Hey, I'm coming on the air." Well, it's Saturday, August 29th. A little cloudy right now. I think today's going to be rainy. Tomorrow should be a little bit better. It's supposed to be nice and sunny, like in the mid 80s. So that'll be a lovely relief. But anyway, it's time for. Okay, I'm hoping you're hearing that. I'm looking at my computer on the side here. I'm not hearing any sound. But if it, I'm just hope everything is working. Let me just check. Just give me a little timeout right now. Just going to check my phone to see if I'm having any problems there. Just 1 second, please. Okay, it's coming off there. For some reason, I'm not. Everything is working. Okay, looks like it's working. Okay. All right, so we're ready for another real estate with Mr. G. Today, our topic will be rent versus buying. And before we start, I just want to say hello to my producer. Want to make sure that everything is going with him. Are you doing okay, Leonard?
I am doing fine, sir, Mr. Garguilo. Thank you so much for asking. Once again, I would like to thank you again for allowing me to produce your show. May God bless you, your wife, children, parents and all your descendants. I thank you, my father thanks you, my mother thanks you, my brothers and sisters that are here and back in the formerly blocked Soviet Union countries, thank you.
All right. That's okay. Thank you very much there, Mr. Leonard Potamkin. Thank you for that. That was very nice of you, my producer. Okay. All right. So let's get up our chalkboard and see exactly what we are going to talk about today. Okay. So we have quite a few things to discuss there. And I'm going to bring up one of my graphics now. All our graphics for today's classes. I'm still digging as a teacher. And we'll review today about rent versus versus buying. So hold on. We're going to open this up here. And we come back to here. And I want to make that... all right, we could actually leave it like this. Now, what this first chart here is showing us historically, the cost of renting versus buying. And what they're going to do in this chart is to compare the percentage of your payment, all right, of the percentage of your income to either pay for your rent or for a purchase, okay? So here we have percentage of income needed to afford the medium price rent, percentage of income needed to afford the medium price home, okay? So, and they're giving historically what it has been in the past and what it is today, you know, in the year 2020. One thing I want to say, this term medium, it's different from average. And I actually like using median more than average because even when it comes to pricing of homes, I've talked about that in prior live streams, that when I try to price a home and I look in the 1 mile radius of the property that I'm pricing, in that we might have some foreclosures, distressed property, short sales. So if the median price, and I'll go more into detail with that, but the median price is 150, and I'm looking around and there's a bunch of homes at 160, and there's a bunch of homes at 140. Um, um, there also might be some homes that are foreclosures or short sales, and they're like maybe 60,000, 70,000. So when you do an average of that, okay, you take the number of homes, you add them up, and then you divide it by the number of homes, that's going to be skewed down because of that low priced home. But when you look at medium prices, okay, you look basically where most of those prices are surrounded. Okay. So even though you have a house at 60,000, you see that the majority of the homes are around 145. So that's your median price, and that's a lot easier to go to. It's the same thing here. Percentage of income needed to afford your median price rent. They don't use average because the average is going to make these numbers go wild, right? So if you're living in a community where, let's say, a two-bedroom home is $1,000 rental, all right, and then there'll be a couple for $995, and there'll be a couple for $2,050, all right. But maybe this one, hey, it's broken down, it's not renovated, it's not upgraded, and there's one there that's for $600. That's going to mess up these numbers. So medium is a lot better. All right. So historically, in the past, a person had to use 25.8% of their income to pay for that rent. So if you made whatever you made that month in your income, 25.8% of that will have to go to paying your rent. And that takes money away from your living expenses, whatever debt you have to pay, if it's credit cards, if it's a car loan. So as of today, it went up actually about 2%, which, in a sense, is not too bad, right? It's only 2%. But let's look down at houses, okay? So historically, a person had to use 21.1% of their salary to pay their mortgage. But what's very surprising here, with today's low mortgage rates, you're only using now 15.9% of your income to pay for a mortgage payment. So that's a big difference, okay? It's a big difference from here. We're going down about 6%. From here, we're down about 12%. So that makes a big difference. So wouldn't it be nice to be using that monthly payment for your home, for your living expenses, to go to a mortgage rather than to landlord, okay? And you're saying, okay, so what's the difference? So what if I got to live, I need shelter, so what's the difference if I pay it to a landlord or I pay it to a bank? Now, actually, I'm going to kind of bypass this, go down a little bit more, and then comment. So what is actually equity? Building this equity. People say, oh, you buy the house and it's been appraised for this amount, but you're paying this. You already have built-in equity. So here we have home value minus principal owed equals your home equity. Now they're saying here, this is an example after 10 years. So let's say your home value now is $250,000. It's very possible that 10 years ago, this house maybe was $220,000. But right now, it's worth $250,000. But you already had it for 10 years and you paid down your principal, and your outstanding balance is $186,208. So when you actually not own, but own a property, is $63,792. Okay? This is equity, and this is wealth, this is power. You could borrow against this, for instance, taking a home equity loan to do improvements of your house. Some people cash out. They take the money out to pay bills. They refinance it, and then what they're actually doing, they'll take the $63,000 out and then take out a new mortgage for $250,000. It and that's a whole other topic. It depends on what your needs are at that time. But this is really good because actually, when they sell their house, they're clearing a check for this amount here. Okay. And that's a nice amount of money. You can't take money and put it in the bank, especially with the low interest rates we've been having lately, and put that money. If they put in 200,000, I don't know. Maybe after 10 years, maybe they would have 63,000, but I'm not sure about that. All right. So equity is very good. That builds in power. You do not have this equity when you rent. It's not there. Okay. So equity is very important. And again, as you pay more and more of your mortgage down, this grows here. The other big thing here, and I had it on my chalkboard, is tax deductions. And I have to be very careful when I say this because I'm not an accountant. I'm not a tax accountant. And in most situations, you will be able to deduct your interest payment on your house, on your tax returns. Now, there's been some changes. That deduction is still there. The way President Trump has changed it, you might want to go with the standard deduction. You have to play it out. It's personal or whatever works best for your financial situation. Again, I'm just telling you what's out here. I'm not making any recommendations. I'm not saying this will save you money. It all depends on your situation. So let me make that very clear. But for the time being, you're able to deduct your your mortgage interest. Now, when you buy a house at the start, let's say your mortgage is $1,000 and you're at the start of a 30-year mortgage. Actually, when you pay that first mortgage payment, about $900 and depending on the interest rates, but at least $950 is going to pay off interest. At the very beginning of your mortgage, the majority of your payment is actually going to interest. All right. So if you have $1,000 mortgage payment and you're just at the beginning of your loan, you have a nice chunk of money to deduct on your IRS returns. And that will help offset any type of income that you have. Okay? So it might yield you a nice big refund, or it might yield you that you have to pay less to the government. All right? But that's all I'm going to say about that. Again, I'm not a tax accountant. Please seek a professional in that area. All right, so we have building up equity, we have a tax deduction, and now we're going to talk about the nice things about owning your own house. Okay, so we have privacy, creating a space that's solely your own. Remember, when you have a rental, you really can't make major changes to the house or apartment that you're living in. Even if you paint the ceilings a kind of a darker color, they may be okay with that, but you have to return it back to white when you leave, okay? So you have some freedom there, but if you wanted to make any type of upgrades to the house, here, this looks like a beautiful, looks like she's in the bathroom here, but it's in the mirror image, it's like a fireplace. It's probably going out to her bedroom, but this is a beautiful beautifully upgraded bathroom, right? Okay, look at the sink here, how nice it is. All right. But again, if you are renting, you can't just do this. You have to go with what the landlord has given you. Okay. Um, I had instances where people who've rented, they offered to, change the rugs, and of course the landlord would say, "Oh yeah, sure, yeah, yeah." If they're going to pay for it, I mean, it actually improves his property, right? So you might say, "Yeah, I'll make that upgrade," but it's not yours; it belongs to the landlord. Okay. If you leave for some reason at the end of the year, you can say, "Well, that cost me $3,000. Can you give me about 2,000?" No, I'm sorry, it's not that way. Okay. Prioritizing the needs of your children and family. Nice little fold up there. Community, being part of a broader community. Nice little plus there. A feeling of community. That's another beautiful backyard. Look at that. And let's go down to our next. Stability, controlling your future direction and security. So basically, unless you default on your mortgage, you're there as long as you want. If your landlord decides he no longer wants you to reside there for any type of reason, then you have to go up looking for another place to reside. If they all of a sudden they jack up the rents that much, very high, and it's not in your price range, then you will have to look for another place to live. You buy a house with a fixed rate. That rate does not change for the life of the loan. Even if interest rates go up, it stays the same. Excuse me, I need a little water. So that stays the same, unless you do an adjustable rate mortgage, which is really not that much around right now. There are some, but it's not as big as it was prior to the crash of the real estate market. So if you're paying $1,000 in your mortgage now, if your house doubles in the amount in 10 years, you're still paying that $1,000. And that's a nice thing. And here we see this nice young man with money in his hands. You're growing your assets and wealth. So as an example, we're building the equity. In most situations, and I'm not going to say every situation, but values will go up unless something drastic happens. Something happens to the economy, the problems we had in 2007, with the crash of the real estate market. In most situations, but not all, you have an increase in equity. So it's like having money in the bank. With the example I showed you before, where they had $63,000 in equity, they could borrow against that. You could cash it out and refinance. So you have this wealth. So those are the items there where it shows you the importance of renting versus buying. I sent out this week to my clients the importance about being pre-qualified, and we actually talked about that last week. And I always get people who are not so sure about the credit, but they always ask, is there anybody out there who's willing to rent to buy, rent with the option to buy? In today's market, where it's really a seller's market, you're really not going to see that, because if they want the cash now, if they want to get that, if they need a large allotment of cash, they're not going to do that. And with the amount of buyers we have out there right now and the low amount of listings, um, they're not going to do that. But even if they were, they still want to see if you're pre-qualified. Most of the times when people, or when an owner, a seller, will accept a rent with option buy because that buy just doesn't have the cash right now to put down, to pay for closing costs, whatever upgrades. But they'll have it if they need a year, maybe 2 years to save it up, and then they would like to purchase. But they're not going to do it with someone who has to work on their credit. Because actually, to work on your credit, it's really, you have to be disciplined about it. And it's not impossible, but it's a process. And so even if you want to do a rent with option buy, they want to see that you're pre-qualified. Because they want to know that eventually you would be able to purchase that house. So with saying that, going back to renting versus buying, unless you have to move at this point and you can't purchase, but you need about a year to get your credit together. Either renew your lease, or if you have to leave, find another place, and work diligently on increasing your credit score. And again, all my loan officers, all of them, if they're pre-qualifying you, and if you can't be pre-qualified at that moment, they will give you advice on how to correct it and get that scale up, that score up in the least amount of time. And a lot of people think, hey, I could do that on my own. I don't need anybody to tell me how to go about it. I know what to do. Let a professional help you. They're not charging you any money. They'll give you the advice. They'll know what lines of credit to pay down more or faster if you happen to have added cash at that moment to get that score up. So they will work with you. And I've worked with clients who went through this, where they went to my loan officer. They could not be qualified at that moment, but with his advice or her advice, they followed that direction. And one was, by the end of the month, they were qualified. Another one took about 3 months. Actually, about a couple took about 3 months, but they did it, and they stood the course. They did what the loan officer said, and it was done. So it's important to get that professional help. No one is going to say, "Oh my God, how did you get this bad credit?" No, they're not going to do that. They're all professional, they're courteous, and they're smart, and they're caring. They really are, because well, maybe this is money, we don't make any money unless you could buy. That's the bottom line. All right. So if we will help you as much as we can, so that eventually you'll be a client for me, purchasing a home, and the loan officer will get their pay once the loan closes. Okay. So, reach out to them. If I sent you loan officers a call, I sent a lot of people. They want to buy, get the leads in, and then there's that block. I wish I had a brick block right in front of me now. And then that's it. They don't do anything after that. They get excited about buying, but it stops right there. A real estate Facebook friend of mine, and I can't think of her name right now, but I'll post it. She does like a nice morning motivational speech. And she had a saying the other day, and it's really good. Nothing changes unless, oh, how did it go again? Well, wait, okay. Nothing changes unless, nothing changes. Oh, no, this is, I'm sorry. Okay. This just came off the top of my head. I'm sorry. Nothing changes if nothing changes. Okay. And I really like that. So you have this vision of buying a house. I want to make a change in my life. I want to own a home. Okay. But if you don't do those steps, those changes to get it done, nothing changes. All right. So even if the loan officer says it's going to take 6 months, it's going to take a year, but you're on that step to change. All right. So that's my little spiel for today. We're getting close to a half hour, and I always say I don't want to go over that so I don't lose my audience, which I hope you haven't lost you already. But I think my producer is calling me. Are you calling me, Leonard?
Chris, great news. We have a special guest in the audience. He is an American composer and lyricist, widely considered one of the greatest songwriters in American history. His music forms a great part of the Great American Songbook. Born in Imperial Russia, he arrived in the United States at the age of 5. He published his first song, Marie from sunny Italy, in 1907, receiving 33 cents for the publishing rights, and had his first major international hit, Alexander's Ragtime Band, in 1911. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Irving Berlin.
Well, that was very impressive. I didn't know he was in the audience. I actually thought he had passed away, but he also wrote one of, I think it's really everybody's favorite Christmas song, White Christmas. That's Irving Berlin. Okay. So thank you so much for listening today. Thank you, Irving, for being in my audience. We'll talk again next week, next Saturday. I'm working on a big project that is going to take me, first I thought maybe a month. I'm going to premiere it in October, and I'll be showing a premiere of that very shortly. Okay? So be well, be safe, and we'll talk again next week. Thank you.